Aleks Korab. A once bright and inquisitive mind, now nothing more than a whisper, a ghost in the shadows of conspiracy and intrigue. His story, beginning with the innocence of youth, takes a terrifying turn, one that few could have predicted. Born in 1986 in Chełmno, Poland, Korab was an energetic child, one who spent his early days immersed in the boundless freedom of the outdoors. But a single summer day would forever change his fate, and the world. It was in Kozma Park when Korab's life took its first sharp turn. 9 years old, and with the reckless curiosity of a child, he stuffed himself into an old tire and rolled down a hill. The onlookers, helpless to intervene, watched in horror as the tire gained an unstoppable momentum, disappearing into the dense trees below. For hours, the search continued. Fear grew as darkness fell. But when he was found, unconscious and inexplicably far from where anyone believed he could have reached, the story took on an eerie twist. A mild concussion, they said, but Korab awoke with something far worse than a headache. He claimed to have encountered something otherworldly, a being that revealed to him alternate ways of moving through space, dimensions beyond human comprehension. Dismissed as a dream, a mere product of the concussion, Korab's bizarre vision was quietly buried. His family, though approached by those eager to turn his story into a lucrative religious fable, refused. They wanted their son to live a normal life, but Korab's life was anything but normal from that day forward. His once outgoing personality vanished. Obsessed with gyroscopes and gravity machines, Aleks Korab became consumed with the idea of transcending physical boundaries. He dove into his studies, excelling enough to earn a substantial scholarship and grant at the University of Gdansk. But while his classmates attended lectures and submitted assignments, Korab disappeared deeper into his research. He was no longer interested in academics, only in his invention, an invention that, he feared, would be destroyed if brought to the light of day. But it wasn't long before cracks began to show. His housemates, equally intrigued by his project, conspired to maintain his academic status by forging assignments in his name. Edgar Arriaga, a student from Spain, was the first to see the darkness behind Korab's obsession. He spoke to the Academic Standards Committee of erratic behavior, of Korab transforming into a dictator within the household, controlling them with an iron grip. He also revealed the academic deception. Korab was expelled, his grants revoked. Alone and destitute, Korab took refuge in a neighbor's unused garage, where things took an even more sinister turn. Korab's behavior became unhinged. Blacked-out windows, strange piles of spices, and cryptic warnings to his former housemates, warnings of an unseen them that he believed was closing in. He isolated himself further, refusing human contact. The deadline for his eviction loomed, yet Korab did not appear to leave. What he left behind, however, was far more disturbing. February 2006. The Lavritter Conference Center roof collapses under the weight of an unusually brutal winter, trapping 65 people inside. As rescue operations unfold in the freezing temperatures, the live news feed is hijacked.
And I'm told we have on the line Fire Chief Albin Puza, responsible for organizing the teams clearing the way into the demolished building. Captain, how soon can we expect the survivors to be rescued?
But it wasn't the fire chief.
Yes, hello, my name is Aleks Korab, and it's imperative that everyone go to this URL immediately. Download the plans for this. I can't trust the government not to suppress this information, so go please once again to... For all of us, we need to prevent...
The broadcast cut off. Korab's voice, pleading with the world to take his warning seriously, was silenced in an instant. But for the next 25 minutes, his message had been heard, and his website, containing schematics for a massive gyroscopic machine, was live. But what was it for? Some speculated that it was a portal to other dimensions. Others believed it was a warning, a desperate attempt to prevent something from those dimensions from entering ours. The station was locked down, the broadcast erased, and those who participated in it were forced to sign non-disclosure agreements. The government claimed Korab's message was a coded signal to activate terrorist sleeper cells. The plans were downloaded hundreds of times before being taken down, but no working prototype has ever emerged. Aleks Korab vanished. The garage where he had been hiding was stripped clean. No sign of his machines, his notes, or his presence remained. Theories abound. Some say he was taken by the government, forced to work in secret. Others believe he was silenced for good. And some claim he succeeded, slipping into the very dimensions he had once described as a child. But one fact remains: Aleks Korab is gone. His invention, his warnings, lost to time. Montreal, 1993. The Expo 93 World's Fair, an event drawing hundreds of thousands from around the globe, a celebration of human progress, innovation, and wonder. But amidst the grand displays of technology, one man's presentation would ignite a controversy that still leaves whispers in the shadows to this day. Swiss inventor Arthur Gertsch, hailed as a visionary, was set to unveil a groundbreaking telescope. But when the lights dimmed and Gertsch took center stage, what he revealed was something far more peculiar. The crowd watched in disbelief as he strapped an outlandish device to his head, its reflective surfaces gleaming, wires twisting like tendrils around delicate sensors used to detect the faintest cosmic particle. Gertsch claimed this was no ordinary invention. Using a combination of light detection and data sonification, he wasn't merely observing the cosmos, he was listening to it. According to Gertsch, he could hear messages, he insisted, from extraterrestrial civilizations. The crowd was stunned. Many dismissed it as absurd, a hoax. People filed out of the room, but a few, drawn by curiosity or skepticism, remained. Among them was a man with a reputation for cutting through the fog of pseudoscience. Dr. Solomon Hopkins, renowned skeptic and author of the celebrated book Prove It, A Journey into Skeptical Inquiry. Hopkins, himself an astrophysicist before transitioning into public scientific advocacy, was intrigued. Gertsch allowed him to examine the device, encouraging questions, unafraid of scrutiny. In a twist few could have predicted, Hopkins strapped the device to his own head and listened. What he heard was unsettling. Fragments of garbled, seemingly nonsensical words, but with a strange, almost rhythmic coherence. Hopkins would later describe it as listening to a distant dialect, something familiar but impenetrable, a mystery buried in noise. To the shock of the scientific community, a strange partnership began to form between the skeptic and the inventor. Rumors swirled, whispers that Hopkins had heard more than he was willing to admit, that behind closed doors, the two were working on something monumental. Speculation turned to conspiracy when tragedy struck. Heath Britt, a reporter for Nature magazine, was found dead in a fiery car crash, his vehicle careening off an open country road. The official story claimed an accident, but the circumstances were anything but ordinary. The fire, investigators noted, started inside the car, an anomaly that baffled experts. Britt, it turned out, had been on his way to meet Gertsch and Hopkins. Was it a coincidence or a cover-up? Gertsch and Hopkins denied the meeting at first, but days later, they made a surprise appearance together on an obscure public access TV show, The Science Scoop. Nervous, they spoke in cryptic tones, alluding to a truth too dangerous to reveal. The scientific world watched with bated breath, but the truth, whatever it was, remained elusive. But the strange tale didn't end there. In the months that followed, attempts to bring Gertsch and Hopkins into mainstream media platforms fell through. And then, the scandal broke. Photos surfaced of a man resembling Arthur Gertsch in compromising situations. Nightclubs, drug deals, even accusations of underage solicitation. It was a brutal fall from grace. But to those who knew Gertsch, something was off. Friends and family called it a deliberate takedown. The accusations were shocking, but many believed they were orchestrated. Was Gertsch silenced because of what he had discovered? And what of Hopkins? As the scandal unfolded, Dr. Solomon Hopkins himself began to deteriorate. His once sharp mind now clouded with confusion, his behavior erratic. At first, it was attributed to Alzheimer's, but one late-night radio broadcast introduced a more sinister theory. An anonymous doctor claimed Hopkins' symptoms matched those of an ancient poison, Spanish speedwell, a slow-acting toxin, used throughout history in covert operations to silence dissenters. Hopkins, they said, had been poisoned. In 2007, Hopkins succumbed to pancreatic cancer. His death marked the end of the public mystery. But behind closed doors, the questions lingered. Arthur Gertsch, the man who claimed to hear voices from the stars, lived out the rest of his days in obscurity. Was he a visionary destroyed by forces greater than himself, or simply a fraud caught in the web of his own lies? The truth, like the signals he claimed to hear, remains out there, waiting. Claudia Booth was an inquisitive child, often found with her nose deep in a book, lost to the world beyond the pages. By age 8, she already had to wear glasses, an early sign of an hereditary pattern in her family. But glasses felt like a barrier between her and her world of words, so she avoided them. When asked where they were, her simple answer was that they'd broken, again and again, year after year. But as her collection of fractured frames grew, so did her curiosity. She wasn't a reckless child by any means, yet she managed to break 2 pairs a year, so she said. By 12, Claudia had amassed a small trove of lenses and frames, some scavenged from friends. With these scraps, she crafted a peculiar set of spectacles, lenses inverted, askew, and angled in ways that didn't seem accidental. They allowed her a unique way of seeing, as if gazing into a world just out of reach. She shared them, each pair whispered about among her friends. At first, it was all in good fun, but something strange happened. Her friends began to feel watched. Shadows flickered at the edges of vision. Strange scents seemed to linger, like damp earth, seaweed, the smell of something alive. Rumors of these sightings spread, until one by one, Claudia's friends returned her contraptions, unnerved. Strangely, Claudia's own sight began to heal over time. By the time she reached high school, she no longer needed glasses, an anomaly that even her eye doctors couldn't explain. Years later, Claudia arrived at the University of St. Andrews, a student in the English and Literature program. But even with her promising studies, her fascination with vision lingered. She continued designing experimental glasses, testing lenses that bent light in ways traditional science never bothered with. Breaking out of her bookish academic circle, Claudia presented a new contraption to geology and oceanography professors Peter Garzon and Alan Strutton. At first, they admired her ingenuity. A young woman's pursuit of understanding seemed harmless, but it wasn't long before Claudia's obsession grew. She pressed the professors to see her work, meeting them after hours, interrupting lab time. Frustrated, the professors eventually brought the matter to the administration. In a meeting with university officials, Claudia shared a chilling revelation. Through her lenses, she had glimpsed worlds hidden beneath the sea, realms below our Earth's crust. She believed that the visions were not mere hallucinations. These were real entities, civilizations long hidden from humanity. University staff dismissed her claims, urging her to follow proper research channels if she wanted to work with faculty. Claudia complied, or so it seemed. 6 weeks later, in a daring act that risked her expulsion, she invited both professors to meet in a secluded room in the university's library. There, she showed them her latest creation, a pair of glasses she had painstakingly financed and built. Both men were hesitant, yet something about her passion swayed them. Claudia was seen leaving the library alone, looking strangely serene. Professors Gertsch and Shrouded went on sick leave shortly after. Rumors abounded, but no one would speak of what happened in that room, and soon Claudia left the university quietly. Today, she lives by the English coast, leading a subdued life with her partner. Claudia has left her sights set on other pursuits and politely avoids discussing those years of her life. Joseph Pope was no ordinary student at MIT. While others studied the tangible, Joseph was captivated by something far more elusive: the time-warping properties of theoretical particles, particularly tachyons. He believed these particles held the potential not only to reshape quantum computing, but to send messages across the boundaries of time itself. And if the technology existed to receive messages from the future, surely, he reasoned, civilizations far ahead of ours in time were attempting to send us warnings. In his thesis, ominously titled Annihilation Without Time, Pope argued that if research into this field was ignored, humanity would be blindly navigating its own destruction. He proposed a bold hypothesis. If we could access messages from a variety of possible futures, we'd gain a clearer understanding of paths leading to survival or extinction. According to Pope, the void of life we observe in the cosmos may stem from this very absence of communication. Without time-bending tools, he believed, natural disasters, ignorance, or other failings would eventually obliterate every civilization, leaving behind only cosmic silence. Pope's ideas weren't mere abstractions. Inspired by the powerful display of Tesla coils, he constructed two devices that shot a high-energy particle beam between them. The result was a mesmerizing vortex, a tangible phenomenon that he claimed might bridge time itself. He demonstrated this vortex to classmates, tossing small objects into it and watching them vanish. But rather than awe, his creation brought accusations. University officials branded his device a dangerously concentrated incinerator, a weapon, bringing him under serious scrutiny. Joseph Pope found this reaction incomprehensible, arguing that institutions should foster ingenuity. Disillusioned, he left MIT midway through his doctorate. Not a week later, something remarkable happened. Joseph Pope won the lottery. And he didn't shy away from publicity, quite the opposite. He claimed he'd received the winning numbers from his time machine. Public skepticism grew. Some said it was mere coincidence, others called it luck, but Joseph insisted his victory was proof. And when challenged to prove it again, he did. A second lottery win only deepened the mystery. Authorities withheld his winnings, citing the anomalous nature of his luck, and skeptics now labeled him a fraud, accusing him of orchestrating a complex scam. But Joseph was undeterred. If he could not convince through money, he would convince through knowledge. In his book, Extinction of Our Future, he laid out an unprecedented theory of time, claiming that harnessing tachyons would allow civilizations to communicate across epochs. The few scientists who dared to read his work found it interesting but dismissed it as conjecture. Unfazed, Joseph upped the stakes. He appeared on a live broadcast predicting the exact day of a ceasefire in an active conflict. And, against all odds, he was right. His predictions fueled speculation, with critics claiming he had merely influenced events with his bold claims. But Joseph saw things differently. He called it prophecy, suggesting that perhaps ancient seers were, in fact, receiving messages from the future, just as he had. Now, Joseph Pope lives out his days in secrecy. Some say he's abandoned science for a life of spiritual reflection, holed up in the mountains. Several photographs of what look like him exist in these locations. People even claim to have met him and that he doesn't want to be photographed up close. Others whisper he's working on classified government projects, quietly advancing the very theories that once led him to leave academia behind. Joseph Pope remains as enigmatic as his theories, a man who claimed to speak with the future, and perhaps for it.